Buckle up, folks. Did you know that there are almost 4,000 ghost towns hiding across America and many more scattered around the globe? That's right, you could potentially score free rent in one of these abandoned spots, far away from noisy neighbors. But it's not just tiny towns we're talking about. Some of these places are seriously massive. I'm stoked to take you on a tour of 15 mind-blowing abandoned cities worldwide. First up, at number 15. Get ready for the enigmatic Ordo City in China. Let's dive into its mysterious history. China's remarkable transformation over the past few decades has been nothing short of incredible. But it didn't happen overnight for everyone. Some cities and towns were left behind. Literally, Ordo City in China is a prime example of this. In the early 2000s, this massive city was envisioned to be home to over 1 million people, with all the trappings of modern life. But fast forward to today, drive down its streets at night, and instead of a bustling metropolis, you'll encounter an eerie emptiness. Despite being around for nearly 2 decades, Ordo City is now barely a tenth of its intended population size, leaving behind a hauntingly silent landscape. Let's take a look at another fascinating, albeit haunting story of an abandoned city. China's Ordo City is a staggering failure that will leave you speechless. This massive urban project, costing over $1 billion to build, sprawls across 137 miles of desolate landscape, making it feel like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. You'll find rows upon rows of half-finished condo complexes and high-rises, as if time just stopped in the middle of construction. With nearly 1.5 billion people calling China home, Ordo City stands out as an oasis of eerie silence, perfect for those seeking solitude, but not much else. Let's set sail for Japan and the mysterious island known as Hashima or Battleship Island. Off the coast of Nagasaki, this isolated city has been abandoned for over 40 years, now home to seabirds and their haunting calls. But don't let its ghostly state fool you. In the 19th century, Hashima was a bustling hub built by Mitsubishi Corporation during Japan's era of newfound openness to foreign trade. The corporation had a vision to tap into the island's supposed coal reserves, and they delivered, constructing impressive 10-story apartment buildings, lush courtyards, and essential community facilities like restaurants and schools. For a while, this tiny city thrived, shipping out an astonishing 400,000 metric tons of coal every year. Next stop on our ghost town tour is Bode, California, a real-life Wild West tale waiting to be unraveled. Back in the height of the gold rush frenzy, thousands flocked to this little settlement, hoping to strike it rich. Bode was the perfect spot for prospectors and entrepreneurs alike. But like all good things, the gold rush came to an end, and when it did, the people of Bode packed up and moved on too, leaving behind a once thriving city that's now frozen in time. Just as you'd imagine from your favorite Western movie. Fasten your boots, 'cause we're about to ride into the untamed world of Bode, California. A tiny settlement that was smack in the middle of the Wild West mayhem. It was close enough to the action to attract prospectors and miners during the gold rush. But let's be real, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Winter brought harsh conditions, deadly diseases spread like wildfire, mining accidents were a grim reality, and crime ran rampant. You'd think folks would have stayed for the gold rush riches. But when the dust settled, people realized their lives weren't worth trading for a few nuggets. And just like how today's economic bubbles burst, the California gold rush mania came to an abrupt end by 1882. The town of Bode was left abandoned, its streets eerily quiet. A stark reminder that no amount of gold is worth losing your life. Next stop, Pyramiden, a former Soviet mining village that's been frozen in time since 1989. When the USSR crumbled, so did its dreams for this Arctic island town, leaving behind an eerie ghost town. Imagine waking up to polar nights and braving the harsh Arctic Circle weather just to get to work. Not exactly the daily grind most of us are used to. This isolated spot can only be reached by sea or snowmobile, making it a seriously rough commute. But despite the tough conditions, Pyramiden had its heyday as a bustling mining village, with people calling this unforgiving landscape home. Now, tumbleweeds wouldn't even stand a chance in the harsh winds that sweep through here. The only signs of life are the remnants of a once thriving community. Let's travel back in time to Pyramiden, a Soviet mining village that was once a thriving Arctic community. Founded by the Swedes in the early 1900s and later sold to the Soviet Union for a pretty penny in 1927, this island town boomed as coal deposits were mined for over 7 decades. To accommodate its workers, Pyramiden's planners built modern apartment blocks and public buildings in a circle, with none other than Vladimir Lenin himself standing tall at its center. Talk about a Big Brother vibe. But when the coal ran out in 1990, so did the jobs, and like that, this bustling Arctic town became a ghost of its former self. The residents packed up and left just before Y2K, abandoning their homes to the wild birds, seals, and yes, even polar bears took over Pyramiden streets. Fast forward to today, and Pyramiden is a shadow of its former self, a bustling hub of activity replaced by tourists snapping photos of this abandoned Arctic city. It's a similar story in Akamara, Georgia, another ex-Soviet mining town that once housed 40,000 people. As the 1900s rolled on and the new millennium dawned, coal's value plummeted with the rise of faster, cleaner, and cheaper energy sources. But Akamara's decline was also marked by a brutal siege in 1992. Karakali cut off supplies for an astonishing 400 days, forcing basic necessities to be airlifted in. This desperate struggle marked the start of the end for Akamara, a mining town that once thrived, but now stands as a haunting reminder of what's lost when industries fade away. Let's take a closer look at Akamara. What you'll find is a haunting landscape of half-empty buildings, their structures weakened by years of neglect. It's as if the very foundations are on the verge of giving in, weighed down by the weight of history. Rumors have circulated about turning this forgotten town into a resort getaway, but for now, that's just a pipe dream. The odds of it happening seem slim to none. But don't let the melancholy vibe get you down. We're about to flip the script and head to Huchuan, also known as the Green Village. This surreal scene looks like something straight out of The Lord of the Rings, China's very own Shire. But hold on to your hat, because beneath its idyllic facade lies a darker truth. This once thriving fishing village has been abandoned for years, leaving behind the remnants of over 2,000 lives. Located about 40 miles outside Shanghai, Huchuan is a true enigma waiting to be unraveled. But here's the twist. Huchuan's residents began disappearing en masse in the early 90s as China's fish industry boomed, leaving them struggling to make ends meet. Many bid farewell to their ancestral homes in search of better opportunities on the mainland. This isn't an isolated case, it's a recurring tale in some of China's smaller villages where economic reality often outweighs sentimental ties. By 1994, Huchuan was all but deserted, and that's when nature started reclaiming its place. Luscious greenery began to suffocate the village, eventually masking entire structures beneath a dense foliage blanket. Yet, for those who chose to stay put, their decision has paid off in an unexpected way. Huchuan has evolved into a major tourist hotspot. Check out this incredible spot in southern Africa's Namib Desert. It's an abandoned city swallowed whole by nature, and trust us, you've probably seen its jaw-dropping pics all over Instagram. Dubbed Coleman's Cup, this surreal landscape is a real-life marvel where Mother Nature has taken back what was once human territory. But here's how it all began back in 1908. A railway worker on a routine cleaning gig stumbled upon something that would change everything: diamonds. Little did he know, his life was about to take an unforgettable turn. Here's what happened next. That railway worker's diamond discovery sent shockwaves across the desert landscape. He shared his find with the boss, but unfortunately, it didn't lead to a sweet payday for him. Instead, the diamonds stayed in the employer's pocket. The news spread like wildfire, and soon, a massive diamond rush ensued. Within just 4 years, Coleman's Cup turned from an empty stretch of sand into a thriving boomtown, producing millions annually. That's around 12% of the world's diamonds at its peak. As the town grew, so did its amenities. Homes sprouted up everywhere, along with a post office, butcher, baker, and even an ice cream shop. But as you'd expect, the diamond rush also brought greed and corruption. A private German company took control, treating workers poorly while pocketing massive profits. By the 1930s, the mine had hit rock bottom, literally running dry and leaving behind a crowded, rundown town that was once the hottest spot on Earth. Fast forward from Coleman's Cup to another abandoned city, Bombay Beach, but this time on the West Coast. Located in California, this former resort town is now a nostalgic relic of the past, nestled eerily far away from any signs of civilization, 40 miles from the nearest hint of life. But how did it all begin? In the early 1900s, a massive engineering project diverted a chunk of the Colorado River into a vast desert area in California. This man-made wonder became known as the Salton Sea, and soon, waterfront properties sprouted up like mushrooms after a spring rain. Everyone wanted a piece of this brand new shoreline. But just as quickly as it rose to fame, Bombay Beach's good times came crashing down. The town's growth brought with it a dark side. The pesticides from nearby farms began seeping into the pristine waters of the Salton Sea, wiping out its aquatic life in a matter of years. The once vibrant beach was soon overwhelmed by an eerie sight. Dead fish littered the shores, and the stench was so overpowering that it resembled a biblical disaster. With the beaches now resembling a haunting graveyard, tourist businesses went bust, and vacationers gave this toxic town a hard pass. Who wants to swim in waters filled with bloated bodies of fish? Today, Bombay Beach stands as an abandoned, post-apocalyptic city, its skeletal remains serving as a grim reminder of what happens when human greed takes over. Fasten your seatbelts. We're about to dive into China's most mind-boggling misstep, Tianducheng, or Sky City. Imagine walking through an eerie, half-built Parisian wonderland, where crumbling apartment blocks masquerade as the City of Light's iconic architecture. It's a bizarre blend of grandeur and decay where dreams went horribly wrong. Construction kicked off in 2007 with a bang. The plan was to build a mini Paris, complete with an 350, 4-foot-tall Eiffel Tower replica, a fountain straight out of the Luxembourg Gardens, and even a French-themed amusement park. But what's left today is more like a ghost town frozen in time. So, if you ever find yourself driving through Tianducheng, keep those car windows rolled up. This abandoned relic might leave you wondering what could have been. So what went wrong with China's Parisian dream? The masterminds behind Tianducheng wanted to bring a taste of Europe straight to Chinese residents, minus the long-haul flights and pricey croissants. With space for over 10,000 folks, this French-themed city was set to be a showstopper. But today, it's more like a sparsely populated ghost town, with only around 2,000 people calling it home. The irony: most of these residents work at the very theme park that was meant to draw in visitors. It seems poor planning was the culprit. Tianducheng is stuck in rural nowhere, making it a logistical nightmare for potential residents and tourists alike. You gotta wonder, what would have happened if they'd built it in a more central location? Would Sky City have become the Paris of China after all? Fast forward to Tianducheng today. A city so isolated, it's almost as if time stood still. Don't expect hordes of people flocking to this Chinese Paris though. Nope. Mostly just the occasional adventurous, new-laid couple seeking an Instagram-perfect photo op or tourists on the hunt for quirky attractions. Meanwhile, back in Italy, there's another story unfolding. But then disaster struck, literally. A series of devastating earthquakes, floods, and landslides forced the residents to pack up and leave in the late 1800s. By 1963, only 1,800 people remained, and eventually they were relocated to a new town below for their own safety. Today, Krakow stands as an eerie ghost town, its empty streets and buildings a haunting reminder of the past. No wonder Hollywood came knocking. This Italian abandoned town has been the backdrop for blockbuster films like Quantum of Solace and The Passion of the Christ. Fasten your seatbelts. Folks, we're about to take off into the unknown. Welcome to Sanchipod City, a Taiwanese town that's out of this world, literally. Built in 1978 with a futuristic UFO design, this seaside resort was meant to be the go-to spot for Taiwanese millionaires and even US military officers. But 2 years later, it was suddenly abandoned, leaving behind a string of bizarre events. Construction workers ending their own projects, freak car accidents, and whispers of paranormal activity. What happened here? Was it a case of bad luck or something more mysterious? Let's dig deeper into this extraterrestrial-inspired town that'll make you question reality. Get ready to be enchanted and then left in shock. Let's travel to Burj Al Babas, Turkey, where you'll find an astonishing 399 abandoned castles that are straight out of your favorite fairy tale. This luxury housing development was meant to be a dream come true for castle enthusiasts. But by 2019, it turned into a ghost town. What went wrong? Did the magic wear off, or did reality catch up with the developers' grand plans? From Disney-esque turrets to sprawling manor houses, Burj Al Babas is an abandoned wonderland that'll leave you wondering what could have been. So, you've got the scoop on why this fairy tale town went from luxury dream destination to abandoned reality TV show. It all comes down to numbers. Too few wealthy buyers biting into a $250,000 price tag for each castle. The math just didn't add up. But here's the kicker. Amenities like an entertainment center and Turkish baths are waiting to be enjoyed by who? Without more castles sold, it's looking like these grand structures will remain as empty shells forever. And yet, there's still hope. If the developers can sell just 100 of them, they'll break even and ride off into the sunset. But until then, Burj Al Babas remains a castle full of what-ifs and unfinished stories. Get ready for a real-life horror story. Centralia, Pennsylvania, a town where the ground beneath your feet was literally on fire. In 1962, an underground coal seam ignited and refused to be extinguished. It's not like grabbing a hose to put out a BBQ gone wrong. This fire was a slow-moving, underground menace that would take decades to unravel. And believe it or not, life in Centralia went on for years ago, with residents shopping at the local market, sending their kids to school, and living normal lives, all while an inferno raged beneath them. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. This is about to get intense. The fiery tale of Centralia is one that's been smoldering for an astonishing 60 years and counting. But how did it all start? It's a cautionary story of what happens when you mess with Mother Nature. In 1962, an attempt to clean up the town's landfill went horribly wrong, and coal seams beneath the surface caught fire. As you can imagine, this was a recipe for disaster and a major safety concern for the residents. With sinkholes popping up left and right and carbon monoxide poisoning lurking around every corner, people started to pack their bags and leave. But here's the kicker. Those who stayed behind eventually had to give in, with the government using eminent domain to take control of their homes. With a twist, they agreed that the property would be theirs no more when they were gone. It wasn't until 1992 that Centralia was officially condemned, leaving its dark history as one of America's most infamous ghost towns. But don't count Centralia out just yet. Despite being a ghost town, this forgotten place has found a new lease on life in the most unexpected way. The highway that cuts through it has been transformed into a vibrant art gallery, covered in graffiti and murals paying tribute to its former residents. And if you can believe it, there were still a handful of brave souls living amidst the ruins as recently as 2017. Talk about dedication. But let's hop on over to Kelso, San Bernardino, California. This small town has got some serious nostalgia going on. Built in 1905, Kelso was once the pride and joy of the locomotive world, housing an impressive 2,000 residents who worked tirelessly behind the scenes at the railroads, mines, and iron processing plants. And guess what? During WWI, Kelso's locomotive maintenance facilities were in high demand, putting this little town on the map as a major player in the industry. But just as diesel-powered engines were chugging along, they derailed Kelso's economy and left the town in disarray. The steam engine locomotives that once relied on Kelso for maintenance became obsolete, taking with them the jobs and livelihoods of its residents. It was a case of being replaced by innovation before you could even say all aboard. As people left to find work on diesel engines elsewhere, the once thriving town of 2,000 dwindled down to zero by 1985. But here's the cool part. Kelso's abandoned streets and buildings remain open to visitors, offering a fascinating glimpse into life as it was in the early 1900s. Just remember, no trespassing signs are basically just suggestions at this point. Now, let's head over to Ashgabat, Turkmenistan, where a complex past has left its mark on this city. With a history marred by turmoil and tragedy, Ashgabat's story is one of resilience in the face of adversity, with its people bearing witness to forces beyond their control. But that's a tale for another time. Fasten your seatbelts as we journey to Ashgabat, Turkmenistan, a city that's equal parts breathtaking and haunting. In the early 1990s, this former Soviet Union country under the iron-fisted rule of President Sopomork Nyosif's, just a name, by the way. Let's focus on the story. Embarked on a grand project to create the ultimate symbol of prosperity, Ashgabat. The city was built with a single-minded vision to showcase Soviet ingenuity and leave the world in awe. And boy, did they deliver. Record-breaking buildings made from luxury materials popped up like Gaudi-inspired mushrooms, topped off by the world's largest Ferris wheel. It was the ultimate party trick for the Soviets, especially when the US came calling. But while Ashgabat was getting its glamour on, life outside its glittering walls was a different story altogether. In reality, the rest of Turkmenistan was struggling to stay alive, with shockingly low life expectancy rates earning it a grim nickname, the City of the Dead. Today, Ashgabat's grandeur is a bit of an illusion. Most residents live just outside city limits, and large chunks of the city remain without access to basic necessities like electricity or clean water. Talk about a tale of two cities. Get ready for a wild ride as we dig deeper into Ashgabat's enigmatic world. This marble marvel may dazzle with its opulent facade, but scratch beneath the surface and you'll uncover some seriously unsettling secrets. As if the surreal scenery wasn't enough, this city's got a reputation for leaving visitors with a lasting sense of unease. So what happens when the glitz gives way to grim reality?